Right. Yes, I better get on with my diary. Okay, let's start with human stupidity. This is a quote from Einstein. Einstein said that there's only two things which are infinitesimal in life. One is the universe, the other is human stupidity. And I think this is a very funny comment. But yes, of course, we're surrounded by it everywhere. And yeah, I agree with him entirely. It's human stupidity. We're surrounded by it. So I've always regarded it as a great challenge. It's been very challenging for me in life to remain positive. Uh, and I think it is important, especially as a parent, to remain positive because you don't want to be giving your children negative messages about life, even subconsciously. And I don't know whether I've been successful or not, but I've certainly tried to do that. Yeah, yes. Now, I want to say something also about empathy and helping people. Now, I think my friends would say, and probably other people who know me, that I'm a pretty empathetic person. That is to say, I'm someone who empathizes with other people and their plight and wishes to help and assist. And yes, now that may be seen as a good thing, a positive thing, but I'm not so sure now. I'm beginning to wonder whether it is a good thing or not, because I'm really beginning to wonder: is it possible to really to help people? Because I found that yes, of course, especially in my teaching career and other aspects of life, I've often tried to help people out, and I've done it successfully and with great satisfaction. Actually, it gives me great satisfaction. But often, and it has not, in fact, been possible to help people. Is it really possible to help people? Because I think if you feel sorry for someone or you empathize with them, in a way, it's a kind of arrogant position, isn't it? Kind of looking down on somebody and saying, oh, well, I can help you. And I think the person you're helping may sometimes see themselves as a kind of a victim and resent your help. So, yeah, those are the thoughts I've been having recently about empathy. I think this particularly true of immigrants. I often feel kind of sorry for immigrants and the whole immigration experience. I think it's very, very challenging for many immigrants. But I also am aware that things have changed a lot for me. I know when I first went to live overseas, way back in 1975, in Ghana as a volunteer for 2 years, I was so impressed with the people and the hospitality of the people and their generosity of spirit. And yeah, and I was very empathetic towards their the poverty around me, and I kind of felt very very sorry for them. And also, I was there at a time when there was no, excuse me, internet, so there was no indeed telephone even. I was in a rural place, a little place where there were no telephones. And actually, I remember I spent a whole year there and was out of touch completely with my family and friends. A whole year, except by writing letters by hand. And it took about a month for the turnaround. So that was a complete, quite a lonely experience for me. Um, and I'll never forget it. You can hear me talking about it now with great passion, both positive and negative. But I think I often feel that when I see immigrants in Australia, oh, they're going through the same thing. They're out of touch with their friends and family. But of course, that is not true at all now. As soon as they arrive, many immigrants in the airport are on the phone to their mother or their father or their friends, and even having video contact. So everything has changed there. There's so I just wonder, maybe I have a kind of false sense of empathy for people who are immigrants. However, having said that, I still believe that the immigrant experience in Australia is a very, very challenging one. They're often managing multitasking, a lot of multitasking going on with many, many challenges at the same time. Yes, I think we could sum it up and say that the migration experience is certainly not a romantic experience. The one I had in 1975 in Ghana was a very romantic experience in the broad sense of the word. I think that romanticism has disappeared from modern life. Yes, now I want to talk a little bit more about some of Einstein's quotes. He's famous for some very interesting quotes, not just his science. And one of them is about friendship. One of his quotes goes something like this: if you don't have a lot of friends, it shows you have a lot of life experience. Now, that might seem counterintuitive to a lot of people. It did to me at first, but I think I agree with him. In fact, friendship is a very important part of my life. It has been ever since I've even been a child, a small boy. I have actively pursued friendship, and I think it does address the the issue of the fundamental human condition is that we are lonely. We are lonely. Everybody is lonely, in my opinion. And whether you're conscious of it, some people are more conscious of it, others are unconscious of it, but it's still there. And it drives our behavior. We have to address it in some way. And of course, there are many ways of addressing it. And some of those are positive and some of those are negative. People commonly address it in the modern lifestyle by being busy. And of course, yeah, naturally, people can be busy for different reasons. Yeah, naturally, because they have to work, they have to survive, they have to put food on the table, and so on. And there is that type of busyness, which of course is legitimate. But there's another type of busyness, I call it, which is not the same. It's a type of business where people are simply doing things for the sake of it, keeping themselves busy because they don't want to address their underlying loneliness. And you will find that a lot of people are doing this. Yes, so my way of addressing this fundamental issue of loneliness, my own loneliness, has been to seek friendships. And I think I've been, yeah, reasonably successful in doing that. Uh, but I find there are a lot of other factors that compete for my attention with, with the friendship. And if they come alongside the friendship, they tend to knock it out of the way. And in general, I found that lots of factors can compete and replace friendship, in fact. They've got a higher priority for people than friendship. They're still trying to deal with this problem of loneliness. For example, religion even can be a barrier to friendship. People who have strong religious beliefs, they will hold them to be more important than their friendships. Even family is the same. Family gets in the way of the making friendships. Family become jealous of friendships outside the family. Partners can do that as well. So many marriages I know that two partners are going around like little bees and buzzing around each other inside a bottle. And yes, they're making their own little partnership, but they are putting a definite barrier to intruders from the outside to either partner. Um, Other competing factors for friendship are things like uh, seeking power. Seeking power is another way to address the problem of loneliness. The classic example are politicians. People like Trump, everyone, Hitler, even the toxic ones, they're all, in my opinion, trying to address this fundamental issue of human loneliness. My own friendship is a very fragile flower, in my opinion. And I've changed my view on this. I used to think it was a very robust thing, but in recent years I realized that's not the case. And some friendships, particularly the older ones, have been very disappointing to me because some of these competing factors have come up against my friendship and knocked my friendship out of the way. So, yeah, but I think overall I've been fairly successful with my strategy. My strategy for dealing with loneliness is friendship. I've pursued it even through my tutoring, and I think with some success. With some success. But there have been disappointments as well. So, overall, friendship is something which I realize is a bit more fragile than I used to think it was. But to me, it is the most satisfying way for me of dealing with this problem of loneliness. Yes, I would even go as far as to say that sadism, cruelty, are an attempt to address the problem of loneliness as well in the human condition. Also, it seems to me that in the human condition, from my observations around me, in all cultures this is, there seems to be a desire for a human being to follow, to find a leader, to be a slave, in fact. And this can have quite negative consequences. Uh, People are afraid of the human condition and they look for someone to follow. So if they follow the wrong person, this can be very bad. You can even have sadism the same way, you have sadomasochism, relationships between sexual partners where one seeks to be dominated or the other one seeks to dominate. I think again it's this something in the human psyche here which is very profound. For me, I think I'm aware of these urges and impulses and I reject them. I try to follow my own path and retain my own critical faculties and not follow a leader, whether it be a positive leader or a negative leader. I don't want to follow a leader. I want to make my own path, however painful and challenging that may be. Yeah, finally, for today's diary, I want to make a comment about Australian banter. Now, Australian banter is what happens when strangers who've not met each other meet. And in fact, it's a fascinating aspect of Australian culture for me, local Australian culture, is that when two strangers meet, they are very friendly. There's a very friendly exchange of greetings. This is quite different from many other cultures, including many other white cultures. So it's absolutely fascinating. I'll give you an example. For example, I was walking yesterday. I came to a lovely viewpoint and I was watching it, looking at the view, and then I heard four people coming up behind me, two couples who didn't know each other, and I could hear their voices in the distance, and they were talking in this loud voice, which is exactly what Australians do all the time. They always speak in a loud voice. It's almost like they're trying to give you a warning that they're approaching. And the two of them were making this noise, and then they arrived, and then they all started talking to me and chatting as if I was some sort of long lost friend, and we were having a reunion. It just seemed to me that they were speaking to me as if they'd known me all their lives. But in fact, they'd only just met me. They didn't even know anything about me. But the whole tone of this banter was that we were great friends. And then suddenly they'd disappear. So within 30 seconds or a minute, they were gone. And that was the end of it. Now, this is Australian banter, and I've found that it's, yeah, both positive and negative. It's certainly positive. It does definitely oil the wheels of communication when you first meet. There's no doubt about that. They're very, very good at it. But at the same time, it's not really authentic because they don't know me and I don't know them. So in a way, it's a kind of a fake intimacy. So it's quite difficult for me as a British, brought up basically Irish British. We go the other way. We will be careful with people we first meet. We will be polite. We will be quiet. We will make very polite, formal comments in that situation, say at the viewpoint, and only we won't go into the banter. We'll only go into the banter if we stayed there for maybe half an hour or an hour and got to know each other a little bit first. So it's kind of reverse order. Now, why this is, I have no idea. Yeah, so finally, just a final thought. Almost everything we do seems to me to be related to this desire to address the problem of loneliness or to avoid the problem of loneliness, which many people do. They're just simply not even aware of it. But everything from pornography to Trump, it's all about loneliness.